Welcome to Love Lies Chronicles.
It started as one of those easy Friday nights, casual, a little too loud, a little too tipsy. We were at Jason and Monica's place, surrounded by the usual crowd. For couples, one long oak table, wine flowing like it was cheaper than water, and the same familiar laughter echoing off the kitchen walls. I remember thinking how good it felt to finally unwind. Work had been suffocating that week, back-to-back deadlines, a tense meeting with our biggest client, and a nonstop parade of emails that left me feeling like a machine on autopilot. So when Lily squeezed my hand under the table and smiled, I took it as a small victory. Maybe tonight, I thought, would be the reset we both needed. Monica had made her signature red sauce, the one she bragged about perfecting over a summer in Tuscany. Jason opened the third bottle of Cabernet, and everyone had long since started drifting from safe small talk into the land of risky anecdotes and inside jokes. The kind that always towed the line between friendly and uncomfortable. That's when it happened. I was mid-sip, laughing at something Jason said about his failed attempt at building a treehouse, when Lily leaned forward, swirling her wine lazily. Her voice cut through the room like an unexpected cold draft. "Oh, please," she said, waving her glass toward me. "He's great at spreadsheets, but God help him with anything that actually requires endurance." The table went quiet for half a second before it erupted in half-nervous, half-gleeful laughter. Everyone laughed differently. Monica did that thing where she covered her mouth like she didn't want to be caught. Jason looked at me, his face stuck somewhere between sympathy and amusement. Dan, Lily's coworker and self-proclaimed fitness guru, grinned, a little too wide. I didn't say anything, just placed my glass down slowly and smiled. The kind of smile you wear when your body's still figuring out whether it's been slapped or stabbed. Lily laughed again, this time nudging Monica with her elbow like they were in on some private joke. "I'm kidding. Sort of. I mean, love you, babe," she added, tossing me a wink that felt less like affection and more like mockery dressed up in flirtation. Everyone relaxed again, probably thinking it was over. Just another edgy joke among close friends. But I felt it, that subtle shift. That change in atmosphere when a laugh crosses the line into something else. There was no coming back from that. Because this wasn't the first time. There had been other moments. Small ones, at first. Offhand comments in group chats. Backhanded compliments at work dinners. That time she giggled to her friend Ashley that she wished I was as assertive in the bedroom as I was at arguing with Amazon delivery drivers. I always brushed it off. Told myself she was trying to be funny. That maybe I was being too sensitive. But tonight wasn't subtle. It wasn't private. It was loud and deliberate and very, very public. And the worst part? Not one person in that room spoke up. Even Monica, who usually went out of her way to balance Lily's sharper edges, just sipped her wine and stared at the centerpiece like she was suddenly fascinated by rosemary sprigs. I sat back in my chair, nodding along as the conversation moved on. Football. Travel plans. Monica's insane new Pilates instructor. No one mentioned what had just happened, but I could feel it hanging over the table, heavy and bitter. That laugh of hers, it kept echoing in my head. As the night went on, I watched Lily more closely. Not because I was looking for comfort, but because I was seeing her clearly for the first time in a long while. And I noticed things. The way she leaned into Dan every time he spoke, tilting her head, laughing too loudly at jokes that weren't funny. The way she touched Monica's wrist, whispering something behind her hand. When dessert came out, she fed me a bite of cheesecake off her fork and kissed my cheek. From the outside, we probably looked like the perfect couple, teasing, affectionate, playful. But inside, something had shifted. Permanently. She thought she had embarrassed me. She thought I'd go home, stew in silence, maybe grumble about it tomorrow like I always did, and then move on. But this time, I wasn't going to move on. Because it wasn't just what she said. It was that she felt safe enough to say it. And something about that? Something about the confidence with which she humiliated me in front of our closest friends? It told me everything I needed to know. I had let her feel too safe. And I was about to change that. Quietly. Completely. Starting that night. I didn't bring it up the next morning. Or the one after that. She floated through the weekend like nothing had happened, smiling, laughing, calling Monica to gossip about a new recipe she'd seen on TikTok, talking about booking a couple's massage for next month. I watched her, wondering how a person could be so effortlessly cruel one night and so effortlessly casual the next. But then again, maybe it wasn't effortless. That thought sat with me longer than I expected. I noticed things I'd ignored before. Like the way she always had her phone tilted just slightly when she texted. How she used to leave it face up on the table but now always put its screen down. How she suddenly had passwords on apps she never used to lock. Or how her phone vibrated more often than it rang, like it had something to say, but only to her. And there were other signs. Little, quiet ones that would have seemed harmless if I hadn't already started looking at them differently. Like the gym. Lily hated the gym. She used to joke that her favorite workout was walking briskly to the fridge. But suddenly she had this new energy. New leggings. A new membership at some high-end boutique studio across town. She said it helped her reset mentally. That it gave her clarity. Clarity, my ass. One night she came home late, flushed and smiling, her hair messily pulled back. I asked her how the class went. She paused, just a second too long, then said, sweaty. Exhausting. Exactly what I needed. I smiled, nodded, said nothing. That was the night I checked our shared Apple account. The Find My feature hadn't been touched in months. I opened it, held my breath, and there it was. Her last known location wasn't the studio. It was a bar 2 blocks away. An hour before she'd arrived home. I started taking mental notes instead. Building a map in my head, her new habits, new friends, new patterns. And the more I watched, the more I started noticing the people around us. Specifically, Dan. Dan, who'd laughed just a little too hard at her cruel joke. Dan, who texted her memes all the time, some of which she'd giggle at in the kitchen, then pretend were just work-related. Dan, who had a fiancé she barely mentioned and a knack for over-complimenting Lily's outfits in front of everyone. It didn't help that I caught a flicker of something between them that night, nothing obvious, just the way her eyes lingered when he spoke. The way she adjusted her top after he complimented her necklace. It was subtle. But once you start seeing those things, you can't unsee them. I decided I needed more than intuition. I needed proof. So the next day, while she was out at yoga, I retrieved the spare phone we kept in the kitchen drawer. The old one we never used anymore but still charged occasionally for emergencies. It still had her Apple ID signed in. I opened her messages. Most were mundane, as expected. But then I found them. Buried under a contact saved as Lisa G. Pilates, a name that didn't appear in any of her photos, calls, or group chats, were dozens of texts. Not just friendly. They were detailed, intimate, loaded with implications that left little room for interpretation. And they weren't from a woman. They were from Dan. I scrolled in silence, my thumb freezing now and then on specific phrases. You're lucky he's so clueless. Last night was insane. Same time next week. You sure no one noticed? You laughed like nothing happened. The pieces fell together like a cruel little puzzle. She hadn't just embarrassed me with that joke. She laughed about the truth behind it. Right there, in that moment, she wasn't taking a jab, she was twisting the knife, knowing I'd smile and swallow it because I always had. But not this time. I didn't rage. I just sat there, phone in hand, and let a plan start forming in the back of my mind. I wouldn't even confront her that night. This was going to be a performance. A show. And she'd get the front row seat. She'd made a fool of me in front of our friends. So I'd return the favor. But I'd do it with precision. And with absolutely no warning. She had no idea. That was the part that got to me the most. Not just the betrayal, not the mockery, not even the affair. It was the sheer confidence she had in my silence. As if she'd weighed my pride, my patience, my personality, and calculated. He won't do anything. She believed she knew me. And maybe once she did. But that man, the one who made excuses for her sharp words, the one who bit his tongue at dinner parties, the one who smiled through every dig, he was gone the second I read those messages. It was time to become someone she never saw coming. The next few days were ordinary on the surface. We shared meals, ran errands, talked about weekend plans. She even asked if I'd want to do a couple's spa day in a few weeks. I said, sounds nice. I even smiled when I said it. But behind that smile, I was moving. First thing I did was transfer everything out of our joint account. Not in a panic. Just methodically, my paychecks, savings, my name off anything we didn't truly co-own. I let her keep access to what she already had. She wouldn't notice right away. She didn't handle the bills. That was boring husband stuff. I also logged into our home security system and quietly added an extra camera feed. One placed in the den where she always took her work calls. I didn't need hours of footage. Just 1 or 2 moments for confirmation. By now, I didn't expect Dan to be dumb enough to come over, but I'd seen enough in her posture, her eyes, the way her phone lit up whenever his name appeared. Then came Monica. She'd always been Lily's best friend. Stylish, sharp, always hosting. The kind of person who could talk about home decor and national politics in the same breath. But there was something about her that had always felt off. Loyal, sure, but not to any principle, just to whatever made her look smartest in the room. And that made her useful. We met for coffee under the guise of planning a surprise birthday thing for Jason. She was immediately suspicious. "So what's this really about?" she asked, stirring her almond milk latte like a woman with too many secrets to spare. I didn't flinch. "You remember what Lily said the other night?" She rolled her eyes. "That stupid joke?" She was tipsy. "Don't take it personally. She's been sleeping with Dan." Monica froze. I didn't wait for her to deny it. I saw the messages. It's not just texts. He's listed under a fake contact in her phone. They meet before or after her fake workouts. She blinked, once, twice. Then she leaned back, almost as if weighing how much it would cost her to pick a side. I added softly, "You knew." Monica didn't nod. She didn't deny it either. Just let out a soft sigh. "I didn't want to be involved," she muttered. "It's not like she told me everything, but I had my suspicions." Lily said, "She said you were more like a roommate now. That the spark was gone." I laughed, once, sharp and bitter. "Funny. I didn't realize sparks involved someone else's fiancé." Monica winced. "I'm sorry, okay? I thought maybe it was a phase. A stupid thing that would pass." "It's not passing." She looked at me for a long moment. "So what are you going to do?" I smiled, calm, deliberate. "I'm going to host the next dinner party." She blinked again. "What?" "I want you to help me. Invite the usual group. Jason, Dan, the girls. Lily, of course. We'll play the perfect hosts." Monica hesitated. "What are you planning to do?" "Just set down a glass," I said, "and ruin her entire night." I left it at that. The setup came together faster than I expected. I picked a Friday 2 weeks out. Enough time to get everyone available, but not enough to raise Lily's suspicions. Monica, for all her flaws, was brilliant at playing both sides. She acted excited, gushed about charcuterie boards and playlist themes. Lily bought right in. I watched her scroll through dress options that week, trying on outfits, asking which one made her look classy but hot. I told her they all looked great. She kissed me on the cheek and said, "This'll be fun." And I nodded. Because it would be. But not for her. That week, I met with Dan's fiancée, Erica. I'd only spoken to her a handful of times before, polite, forgettable conversations. But she wasn't forgettable anymore when I showed her the screenshots, the texts, the time-stamped receipts. She didn't scream. She just looked at the phone, then at me, and said, "Tell me when and where." The guest list was complete. Everyone was in place. All that was left was to wait. And let Lily keep smiling. She floated through the evening like a queen on parade, all smiles and charm and subtle touches. The dress she chose was a deep emerald green, low-cut, fitted, the kind of thing that made an entrance without trying too hard. I told her she looked stunning. She kissed me slowly on the cheek and whispered, "Let's make tonight unforgettable." I almost laughed. Because that was the plan. The house was spotless. Monica brought her signature baked brie, Jason manned the wine bottles like he'd trained for it, and Dan walked in with that fake, wide smile he reserved for married gatherings. I watched him and Lily hug longer than necessary, but not enough to raise alarms for anyone who didn't already know. Monica and I exchanged a glance. Just one. The night began like any other, music humming in the background, people milling around with wine glasses, and harmless stories floating from room to room. Lily was in her element. She flitted between conversations like she was hosting a gala, not standing in the house of the man she'd been betraying for months. I was calm. Even when Dan leaned against the kitchen island and made a comment about how Lily's workout glow made the wine taste better, I just smiled. Lily laughed. Monica winced. Everyone else laughed too. Surface-level tension, the kind people dismiss the moment they feel it. But the best part? Erica hadn't arrived yet. I had told her to come later. Not dramatically late, just late enough to miss the introductions. Lily wouldn't see her coming. Dan wouldn't either. And at precisely 8:47 p.m., I heard the soft knock on the door. I opened it quietly. Erica stood there in a white blouse, hair pulled back, face like stone. I let her in without a word and handed her a wine glass already poured. Everyone was in the living room by then, gathered around the couch for post-dinner drinks and stories. Jason was halfway through a wild vacation tale, gesturing with his glass. Lily was curled into the arm of the sectional, her legs draped over the side like she belonged to the space. Dan sat across from her, his gaze drifting more than once. Erica entered from the hallway and stood behind him. The room noticed slowly. Jason paused mid-sentence. Monica's eyes darted to me, then to Erica. Lily's face stiffened, just barely. Dan's smile faltered as he turned. And then Erica spoke. Dan, sweetheart. You left your phone in my car last night. She held it out to him. Her voice was gentle, controlled, but you could feel the air shift. Dan froze. His mouth opened slightly, then closed. He didn't move. Lily, to her credit, didn't say a word. Just stared at Erica like she was looking at a ghost. Oh, Erica added, almost as an afterthought. And I saw your texts. Silence. Pure, perfect silence. No one moved. Monica's hand tightened around her glass. Jason looked from face to face like he'd stumbled into a play without knowing the script. Dan blinked once and reached for the phone. But Erica didn't let go. She turned toward the group. Sorry to hijack the evening, she said to the room, her voice still impossibly even. I just figured everyone should know how entertaining the two of them have been behind the scenes. She didn't need to say who. Every single person in that room knew. The silence broke with a glass clinking on the coffee table, mine. I set it down carefully, stood, and looked around like I was about to propose a toast. Lily, I said, keeping my voice smooth, do you want to explain? Or should I pull up the messages you sent under the name Lisa G. Pilates? Her face drained of color. Someone exhaled, Jason, maybe. Monica looked like she wanted to evaporate. Lily opened her mouth, then closed it. Wow, she said finally, forcing a smile. You really went all out, huh? I tilted my head. Not as much as you did. I pulled my phone from my pocket and opened the gallery. A series of screenshots. Messages. Timestamps. Photos of Dan's car parked near that same wine bar on yoga nights. I didn't pass the phone around. I just left it face up on the table and walked to the kitchen to pour another glass of wine. Behind me, the room erupted. Not loudly. There were no screams, no chaos. Just a dozen small voices trying to fill a void too big to manage. Dan was stammering. Lily tried to laugh again. No one joined her this time. Erica sat down next to Monica, calm and composed. Told you, she whispered, just loud enough for me to hear. Better than therapy. I just stood there, glass in hand, watching the world Lily built tilt on its axis. She had humiliated me with a laugh, and I had waited, not to lash out, just to show her what it felt like when the curtain falls and everyone finally sees the truth for what it is. No performance, just silence, and a glass of wine. She didn't follow me into the kitchen, not right away. I gave her the time. Let her stew in that awkward, crushing fog of exposed secrets and hushed murmurs, where everyone avoids eye contact and pretends not to enjoy the spectacle too much. That's the part people never admit. They love a good fall, especially when it's someone who made a habit of standing taller than everyone else. Lily had always been the center of the room, always the one with the best line, the loudest laugh, the sharpest edge. But now, as I leaned against the kitchen counter, sipping my wine in measured silence, all I could hear from the other room were muffled voices, her trying to gather herself, Dan tripping over words, Erica delivering quiet death sentences without raising her voice. Then, finally, I heard heels on tile. She came in like she was walking through smoke, eyes wide, expression somewhere between disbelief and desperation. And for the first time in months, maybe years, she didn't have a rehearsed tone or a fake smile ready to go. Just silence. Her mouth opened. Nothing came out. I didn't help her fill it. You planned this, she said eventually, voice low. Not angry. Just stunned. I nodded. You humiliated me. I shrugged. You made a joke. I just made sure everyone got to hear the punchline. She blinked, eyes wet. You brought Erica into our home. You brought Dan into our bed, I said, not cruelly. Just flatly. Truthfully. She looked away. The silence between us swelled again. I didn't mean for it to go this far, she whispered, as if that excuse meant anything now. It just happened. That's funny, I said, leaning forward, because most affairs don't just happen. You don't accidentally type out those messages, or sneak out early for a yoga class that ends at a wine bar, or save someone under a fake name in your phone. That's not impulsive. That's methodical. Please, she said, stepping forward, lowering her voice like that would rewind the night. We can talk about this. In private. This isn't who we are. You're right, I said, setting down my glass. This isn't who I am. Not anymore. She looked confused for a moment, and then I saw it, the flicker of fear, because she didn't know what I was about to do next. I opened the drawer behind me and pulled out a plain white envelope. I handed it to her. Her hands trembled as she opened it. Inside, the legal separation paperwork. Already filled out. Already signed. I'll be moving out by Monday, I said. You'll find the house deed inside. I took my name off it last week. Her head snapped up. Wait, what? I'm not interested in dragging this out, I continued. You can keep the house. I'll take the apartment downtown. It's already furnished. But why would you? Because, I said, I want you to have exactly what you wanted. I could see it land slowly, painfully. The house, the silence, the social fallout, and most importantly, the isolation. She could keep her kingdom, but everyone now knew what kind of queen she really was. I don't want to lose you, she whispered suddenly, her eyes brimming. I made a mistake. You didn't make a mistake, I said calmly. You made a choice. Over and over. Even after you saw what it was doing to me. She reached for my hand. I stepped back. I was never the joke, Lily, I said. I was the audience. The one you didn't think would ever stop clapping. I walked past her then, into the living room, where the guests were either collecting their coats or staring intently at their phones. Monica caught my eye and gave me a slow, knowing nod. Jason looked like he'd seen a ghost. Erica sat on the edge of the couch, still sipping her wine like it was just another Friday. Dan was already gone. Coward. Thank you all for coming, I said to the room. Hope it was a night to remember. No one said anything. They didn't have to. Because Lily was still standing in the kitchen, alone now, holding an envelope full of endings. I didn't slam the door when I left. Some endings don't come with a crash. Like a wine glass being set on a table. Or a man walking away without looking back.
Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments, and do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel.